I am even more excited though to sit down with Dalapo Arandola, y'all. He is just an incredible filmmaker, executive producer, award-winning executive producer, multi-business, mogul, restaurateur, philanthropist. I can go on and on and on about Dalapo and the impact that he has in the filmmaking community. And so Dalapo, are you ready? I'm gonna first start with your creative journey right now. Dalapo was born to immigrant parents, Nigeria. They migrated from Nigeria to Chicago in the 60s, right? So we're gonna start there. We're gonna start with Dalapo being one of 10 kids. So full circle moment, years later, Dalapo's in a completely different career field. He starts dating a very famous actress and starts helping her out with her contracts when it came to like all movie deals and those sorts of things. And one day, while helping her out, there was a pocket where you could fit in and get back into the film and television industry. So basically, one day he was helping her with the contract and realizing they didn't have enough funding to finish the project. And again, he's in a completely different career field at this time and said, not only should I help my girlfriend out, but this may be that moment for me to take advantage of getting back into the film and television industry again, which is why he's here now. So let's talk about that moment for you.
I am really scared of her because she knows a lot. She knows a lot. Yeah, so that did happen. Prior to that, I would look at her contracts and I would ask questions. How do you, because I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's Hollywood. And you hear about, okay, every time the show plays, you're supposed to get a check, or you're supposed to get paid, or I really didn't know how residuals and things like that work. So I would ask those questions just to, because I would see her getting frustrated. She was like, oh no, I've never received a check from this or from that. And, I love contracts. So I said, let me see the contract. Or if we talked about it, not necessarily looking at the contract, but just talking about it. And then, like you said, so that's established us in, her world for me. And then after that, it led into an opportunity where there was a project that she was doing, and they ran out of finishing funds, and they wanted to, market it, and they wanted them to do guerrilla marketing. And the stars of the film, they really didn't want to do that. So she got off the phone kind of frustrated. I'm like, what's up? She said, well, they want us to do this, we just need funding. I was like, is it important to you? She said, yeah. I said, I'll do it. So at that point, now I became a student of the industry, finding out what writing a check meant, how do I get a return on my investment, what controls I have to make sure that I can follow my money to make sure it comes back to me. And all of that was a learning process. Sometimes you don't have control because you're coming in on the the back end. But if you're in the same seat and you're starting at the top, you can identify your control. So I had to learn all those things. But yeah, that was really how I put my toe into the industry.
Now, you kind of in a previous interview you spoke about the creative filmmaker versus the business-minded filmmaker. So the creative-minded filmmaker literally creates projects focused on passion. The business-minded filmmaker creates projects focused on how can I feed Hollywood's mandate, which, by the way, I didn't know existed until you said something about Hollywood having this mandate of what they're looking for every single year. So I want you to kind of speak to that filmmaker who is pursuing projects based on passion versus that filmmaker who's pursuing projects based on this is what Hollywood is looking for, and can there be success in both? I think it's the question for
me. Yeah, that's $1 million question. I would say it depends on the lens, right? If you're a true creative, you have a lens of just creating. You don't care about the business side of it. You don't care where the money comes from. You don't care if you're gonna make money, right? You just want to create a dope project. And if you look at some of the filmmakers, so especially guerrilla style filmmakers, they'll go out there and they're not thinking about budget, right? You're supposed to shoot for 8 hours. Keep going. Go and get this, and you're spending money. You're not, but it's a part of the creative process, and you can. And for someone in the business world, you've got to let them create, but you do have to put boundaries because that can expand to a point where. Let me give you an example. If you buy a house in the neighborhood, and you got a house like everyone else, and all of a sudden you start, throw a pool in there, you throw, high-end fence, you throw a jacuzzi. All of a sudden, let's say all the houses in the neighborhood are worth 200,000. Now your house is worth 500,000. You're never gonna get 500,000 for that house. You have priced yourself out of the house. But if you don't plan to move, it doesn't matter. But the moment you try to move and sell that house, you're gonna realize you messed up. It's the same with the film industry. You have to identify, okay, where am I taking this? What will the platforms pay for this? If there's a disparity or a disconnect, then you have to force yourself as a creator to stop. If All Black is only gonna pay me $250,000 for a movie, it doesn't make sense to pour 400,000. You're just gonna lose. So the yin and the yang is let the creatives create, but my side of it is the business side. Okay, how do we make it and make sure that we stay profitable? How do I not compromise your creative aspects and make sure that at the end of the day, we're making money on the film? So it's just understanding their language, getting out of their way, but also making sure they understand the importance of what you're trying to bring to the table. You're not trying to stifle their creativity, but you're trying to make sure that it doesn't make sense to have your best project be a home movie. And home movies are where no one else sees it but you, right? But you want the world to see it, and sometimes you have to follow the formula.
That's really good because I am a passion filmmaker. I'll focus on everything that I need to get, and at the end, it's like the budget is blown, and how do you market it? What comes next. And so it's good to have somebody like you on the team always. But you were working on a few, I wouldn't say passion projects, but some really dope projects Dalapo has coming out right now. It's the Water Boys project, which is focused on the water boys here in Atlanta. He has the GOAT project, which is going to be coming out, and that is focused on, like, I think it's motivational speakers. It's like a competition. And then he has a project is coming out. It's called Dating COVID, which I can't even wait for you guys to get a glimpse of what that is. But my question to you, Dalapo, is speaking of the business side of things, how do you choose which projects to invest in?
How do you choose? And let me back up because you gotta give your kudos to the creative people. So you mentioned Water Boys. Water Boys was written, directed by Coach Daniels, who also wrote Karen. Coach is a dope writer, dope producer. With Water Boys, we're doing that. We got the lead, Lala Anthony. We got Quavo from the Migos on it. We've got Rockland Dunbar. We've got Keely McDowell. And it chronicles the life of the Atlanta Water Boys. So I'm really excited about it. We got quality control doing the music. So I'm really excited about that particular project. You also mentioned the GOAT. The GOAT was created by Dr. Diana Wadley. She's a motivational speaker. We've got everybody from Jamal Bryant, Stevie Baggs, Willie Moore Jr. We've got just some of Atlanta homegrown motivational speakers in there. And it's a competition where we flew, contestants in from all over the country. And we gave them a cash prize. And it's currently out on Tubi, and you won't be disappointed. And the last one you said is Dating COVID. And Dating COVID is by Patty Gill and Cassandra. They created the project, brought me in. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. I don't want to give it away, but I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not going to give it away, but I got to ask this question. In today's day and age, a woman can meet the perfect guy, right? He looks the way she wants. He's successful. He has a heart. He's everything. And then she falls madly in love with him. Now, if he comes back and says, hey, listen, I have something that is taboo. I might have, I don't know, not COVID, but let's say HIV. It's non-contagious. I have it under control. At that point, what happens to the relationship? As a woman, do you run? Do you engage? How does that play itself out? And keep in mind, we're not talking about this, but this happens every single day if the person is honest, right? Some people want to hide it, and that's where you get in trouble. So again, a lot of really good projects out there, a lot of twists and turns. So the question on the table is, how do I identify which project to go to? I equate it to music. If I hear a song on the radio for the first time, I've got to feel the song. And then I'll ask myself, okay, who sang the song? And then I'll go and look the person up and see the vibe. Okay, they got this look, they got this vibe. I listen to a couple other songs and I'm like, okay, I'm following that person. I'm checking out their music because now I'm pulled in. It's the same with film for me. I have to, if somebody pitches me a story, I listen to it and then I look at the person. Okay, so what are you trying to do? Who are you? Because you can have a great story, but be a jacked up individual. And for me, I don't want no part of that. And I wish them well, but I just know the tribe that I want to be around. I want to be around individuals who are givers, who have a servant attitude. And this is why. If we're working on a project, I'm gonna be long-winded. If we're working on a project and the project has a specific budget, and because of the creatives, maybe it's going over budget a little bit. Now, the producer's got to get paid, the print person has to get paid, the craft services person has to get paid, and everyone is well within their rights to get paid for the project. But as a producer, do I pay myself first? Or do I pay my craft services person first? If I pay myself first, I'm not doing anything wrong, it's within my contract. But I want people who's gonna say, no, let's get them paid first and we'll work it out, we'll make sure our money is right. Those are the kind of people that make making movies in Atlanta good. And the people who take the other approach, I have nothing against them because they're not doing anything wrong. But if you take that approach, I'm not working with you because you're not looking at the big picture. So I look at the person, I look at the project, and the combination of those two things allows me to decide whether or not I'm
That
gonna sign.
was so good. We got to talk about sweet spot budgets, though. Okay, so going from that, let's talk about the numbers. In another interview, you talked about how investing at least $50,000 into a project is good, but you have invested between 100K and 200K into projects before. What goes into that thought process of, okay, now I'm on board for this project, but I'm gonna invest this amount? I know there's some stuff behind the scenes, maybe EP rights and those sorts of things, but like, how do you decide that?
Yeah, it's difficult, but I've invested 3 M's on a project, and I've invested as little as maybe $30,000 or $50,000 on a project, and it just kind of depends on a couple of things. One, what type of project I'm making, and for me, I'm putting on my business hat. Okay, and I'm going to look at the mandate. What are the platforms looking for? How much are they looking to pay for? And then there's an algorithm when you identify who's in the project. Make no mistake about it. The talent that you have in it will determine the value of the project in most cases. I'm not going to say in all cases because you always have that breakout project and you always have, the new. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in the bell curve. I'm talking about the bell. You have to identify talent that is going to fetch what you need in the project. So it's a simple equation, like algebra, right? X has to equal 4 plus A. And what you have to do is solve. So what you do is you ask yourself, okay, who's in the project? what are their worth to the platforms? How much is the budget for the project, right? And then what are they paying for the overall project? And then you say to yourself, look at the platforms. What are we going? Are we going SVOD? Are we going AVOD? Um, and those things are really important. Does everyone know what I'm talking about when I say SVOD, AVOD, TVOD? Those are really important to know because it determines what your money is. So if I do AVOD is like Tubi, where you're going to do a revenue share, meaning Tubi's model, for the most part, is for every dollar that that project makes, Tubi's going to take 50 cents off the rip. They're going to revenue share that with you. Then Tubi is going to have a distribution deal with an aggregator or direct distributor, and that person gets the other 50 cents. Follow me? Now, that aggregator can't create enough content, so they'll go out to a young filmmaker and say, you got a project? Okay, I will give you, typically it's 80-20. I'll give you 80% of that 50 cents, and I'll keep 20 for bringing you the deal. So now if you look at it, for every dollar, if you're a content creator, you get 40 cents. You get 40 cents on every dollar. Now 40 cents on every dollar on a 2D platform, you do the math, you try to figure out if you have a good project, you got some influencers, you might make $30,000, $40,000 a month. Over a span of a year, if you put 300,000 in it, you may break even, right? So that's the math you have to do in order to determine, if this is a good budget. Other platforms are like, BETs and some of them, they're paying around 300,000 for a what they call, like a BET exclusive or, their own movie. If it's not one of those, then, they're paying somewhere around, 200, 300,000. So you gotta ask yourself, does it fit? And then move forward. Hopefully I answered that question.
No, you did. You answered it. Now, we're going to talk about dead projects. You have no dead projects. Dalapo has invested in well over 20 projects in 4 years. None of them are dead projects. And so, as I was preparing for today, I was like, how does this man do all of this, right? Is he not afraid? Is it not like a gambling thing for him? And it takes me back to something that you said a while ago. You were talking about your sister. And so Dalapo lost his sister a few years ago. She was robbed in Dallas, Texas, and murdered. And you said every time, especially in filmmaking, every time you get fearful of something, you think about her. So I kind of want you to talk to that a little bit.
Wow, I am taking her everywhere with me because you gotta be on some type of team. I love it. I'm very spiritual, and I talk to my ancestors, and I believe in one God, but I still talk to my ancestors because I believe those spirits don't go anywhere. I have conversations with my mom, my dad, that has passed away, and my generations and ancestors. And when I lost my sister, they caught the guy, but there was a statement that they recalled where my sister, she was there, she was begging for her life, and, because it was two guys. One guy was saying, don't shoot him. The other guy was saying, we have to shoot him because they seen our faces. So the other guy was, during the trial, they turned on each other, because they were talking about that. So the truth was coming out. And so while my sister, and she was there with a friend, actually a coworker, she was on a internship, and it was the last day of her internship. They went to go see a movie, and that's where they got robbed. But the point I'm trying to make is she was there begging for her life, and the guy ended up just shooting him anyway. So when I'm thinking about my sister in those last seconds and how that exchange could have been. And I say to myself, there's absolutely nothing on this planet that will compete or compare to that exchange. So what the hell am I afraid of? There is nothing on this planet that can shake me. Nothing. I'm planning. Because I think about what she went through, and if my baby sister can go through something like that, then nothing can shake me. And I use a tragedy like that to make her and my ancestors and myself, proud. I'm not afraid to jump in to a business opportunity that I feel is going to work and help people. I'm on a mission to help people and do the right thing. My motto is do business the right way. Find a way to do business the right way. And I'll tell you, I'm very successful, and there is nothing that I've asked the Lord for that He hasn't given to me. So I am proud to say, okay, I like your project, let's go. And I'm not, if it makes money, if it doesn't make money, that's not the focus. We already did that thing. Now let's get it across the finish line and make sure it's good. And if we take that approach, 9 times out of 10, and for me, 10 out of 10, it works.
Yeah, let's take a moment and just give Dalapo this really good, amazing. So we got to talk about, in another interview, how you spoke on filmmaking not being like your typical job, being able to go to an HR department, right? So with the typical job, you go through something, you go to an HR department, they handle it. Filmmaking is not like that. In Hollywood, you have to be who you say you're going to be, do what you say you're going to do. So I want you to speak to that.
Yeah, that is the first thing I had to learn. I had to learn the hard way. Everyone says Hollywood is so cutthroat. And when I first got into the business, I was like, no, it's not cutthroat. Everybody's nice. And until they don't get their way. And what happens is, if you're working a corporate American job, if we disagree, we go to HR. Or we have a manager to go to. We have someone that's going to hold us accountable. And there's a fear of losing your job, right? If I get too crazy, I go too left, I'm getting that call saying, okay, come to the office and bring your badge. You're getting one of those. But in the film industry, it's totally different. In the film industry, it's like, okay, everyone is they're an individual contractor. So if I'm working with you and you do something I don't like, yeah, we have a union, but that's not what happens. What happens is they'll beat me up and then they'll just walk away. And there's no recourse for it. So they'll go to the next project, more than likely they'll badmouth me, I have to badmouth them, but they have their tribe, I have my tribe, and it goes on. It goes on. And there's nothing stopping that person from continuing to do their bad deeds. That's what I mean when I say there's a difference. And you have to adjust your style accordingly. Don't think that somebody's coming to save you, that everyone is out for you. This is, in the film industry, you only eat what you kill. Ain't nobody giving you a check. You gotta go and earn it. So that's the difference. So when you think like that, and you approach like, the tribe that work for hires, you have to think like that and be on your P's and Q's, be on your toes, because at the end of the day, they might overpromise and underdeliver, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? So once you know that, then you have to inspect what you expect. Every step of the way, it's gonna take a little bit more, but it's gonna be worth it. Because at that point, you understand how they do business in Hollywood. That's how they do business. Make no mistake about it. There's no HR, there's no one coming to save you, there's no mediator that's gonna say, sit down in the room. They are going to do what they need to do and move on to the next project. So be ready.
I like that. Inspect what you expect. I like that one. Now we have to touch on the topic of collaboration, Dalapo, because you've collaborated with some amazing people. I would say Jennifer Pacima, who is my sister from another mister, Cass B. So I want you to talk about the benefits and challenges of collaborating with the different creatives whom sometimes may have different artistic disciplines. So how do you make that work?
Okay, if you understand the question, so they have different artistic disciplines.
Yeah, so everybody that you collab with have different disciplines when it comes down to storytelling and filmmaking. How do you work with these individuals? And to answer that question, what are some takeaways? Like, what's something, we'll just use Jen for an example, all right? You guys could be two different people artistically, but creating a project. What are some things that you may have learned from her that you take away and incorporate moving forward with any other business or platform?
And shout out to Jennifer Messina. She is just fantastic. If you don't know her and you don't follow her, let me tell you, you're missing out. She is outstanding. And Cass Beatles, she is just, she's a powerhouse. And you have to know her. And we have, I just want to acknowledge one of our main actors is Scheme Queens. Please stand up. I'm just, honored that you're in the building, and just wonderful job. And we're about to shoot Scheme Queens 2, and we're coming with that thunder. If y'all miss Scheme Queens, let me tell you, but we're coming with that thunder. So you got Jennifer, you've got Cass, you've got Coke, just to name a few. But each one of them, to your point, they have different disciplines, they have different strengths. So how do you make sure that you can coexist with them? Because that's what we're talking about, right? You look, and everything to me is mathematical. You look for the common denominator. The common denominator in each one of them, believe it or not, trust me, they're good people. They're good people. I can talk to them. Hey Jen, I don't know why you're doing this. And Jen will sit down and explain it to me. Why she's doing something a certain way, or hey Dee, it makes sense to do this, or hey Dee, we need more in the budget because of this. And she explains it to me, and we coexist together. Cass the same way, Coke the same. So it has to be good people who are have a certain attitude, but they're really good in their discipline. So for me, like if somebody were to pitch me right now, I wish I could ask the audience to pitch me, because as an executive producer, I can tell you exactly how to do it so that people will pick up the project. Because I get pitched multiple times a day, and I have to. You want to do it?
Okay.
Do we have time? You can do this? You guys feel comfortable? Okay, let's do that.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Exactly, I'm ready.
Go ahead.
You gotta come up, you gotta introduce yourself. So this is the scenario. I don't know you, but you know me. We're on the elevator, you got a movie, and you know I'm an executive producer of financing films. You really got 3 minutes to sell me on your project. Go.
All right, I'm Bernette Sherman. I'm a playwright actually here at Atlanta and an author. And I have a play that's part of the 2021 GATL Summer Theater Festival. 4 Wives Novella is about this man who passes away, leaves behind 4 wives, ex-wives, and 1 child. They all have some drama, history, mental health issues, and there's all kinds of stuff going down in this one evening at the reading of their will. Now, it made a great stage play, but it's ready to go to the next level and be on the screen. Are you interested in a play that features 4 African American women from Atlanta who are ready to deal with their trauma, resolve it, uplift each other, and not be tyrants?
Round of applause.
Hello. What? First of all, that was good. Yes.
Wow.
So we got 10 minutes left, but I want you to talk about what you look for in a pitch. How can people successfully pitch to investors and executive producers?
That pitch was fantastic, by the way, because the story pulled me in. But my response would have been, I'm not taking on any projects right now. Here's my Instagram, just follow me, and then touch base with you first quarter of next year.
I will.
Now, what would get me is if you gave me that same story. I said you knew me, so you know what type of projects I like, right? So you personalize it, and I know you're all about giving back. I know you do a lot of things in Atlanta. This is in your wheelhouse. Then the other thing for a business person, they're always thinking money. budget is going to be about 300,000. I think we can sell it for about $1 million. That's going to be 700. Those are buzzwords for me. So it's not just the story. The story is great. Personalize it, talk the numbers, and what I'll say is, we need to talk. I'm not going to leave 700,000 on the table. Let's do something next week. I just want to hear how'd you get to that 700,000? What are the numbers? And now you've got my attention. If you got 3 minutes, think about it. Everybody's pitching the executive producer's stories, great stories all the time. How do you stand out? You stand out by personalizing it, and you stand out by talking about the business side of it. What are the numbers?
Thank you.
That's good. So making sure that you're familiar with everybody in your industry, studying the people in your industry. Well, guys, I'm gonna open up the floor right now for any personal questions that you may have for Dalapo before we close out this segment. Does anybody have any questions? You do? Just say your name. Just go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Ayana Barnes, and I just graduated from film school, and as an aspiring producer, how do I kind of get myself out there? To produce, you have to trust the person. You have to know that they're going to be able to help with this film, sell this film, all of that. So how can I, one, get that experience, and two, I guess, find a mentor who is actually going to teach me because they want to help and not teach because they want money or they just want to look good for themselves. Because I was kind of in that predicament, and it, I don't really good.
That's a very good question.
That's a good question. First of all, congratulations. I would say you're gonna get that, right? But you have to be smart about it. If you're talking about, are you talking about you created something and now you're trying to get it produced, or you're saying you just want to be a producer and jump on a project?
I just both, but for the question, I want to be a producer for other projects.
Okay, now I understand. So, if you want to be a producer for other projects, you're going to surround yourself with producers after you do the research and find out who they are, if they're most like you, your personality, then you go there and you offer your services for free. It's not really for free because it's going to pay dividends. You'll be surprised how many people you will get to meet and your circle will start to expand. You don't have to give so much of your time, but for me, that would be my approach. I would go out there, I would say, hey, I am working, but I want to give you 2 hours of my time, and this is, and just take me with you. I'll do whatever I need to do, and you're learning with this person. But the key is finding someone that has the same type of personality and goals as you. There are givers and there are takers. And I don't slight takers because we need them, right? But I don't do well with takers because takers just continue to take. And as a giver, I give something I'm expecting eventually you're gonna pour into me. Takers don't do that. And then you get mad at them for being who they are. That's not their fault, that's your fault because you knew who they were. Right? So for me, I hang around givers. So now I'm in my comfort zone, and when we're together, we decide to give, we know where to stop. So find that producer that has that same energy as you, offer your time, and I think that's a good start.
Yeah, that was good. Any other questions for Dalapo?
My question is, a lot of times, especially independent creators. So the first part first. How hands-on are you as a producer? Because a lot of independent filmmakers are reluctant to really go to people, like when it comes to money, and they're scared to have like a lot of hands in their pocket because they're scared it's gonna like stifle their creative process, or on the back end they're gonna get screwed in some way, whether it be financially or like credit. So how do you just have to produce yourself, work with creatives, and how has that worked out for you? Does that make sense?
It is. Congratulations on your film. Can you tell us about your film real quick?
Hey, everybody. What's up, man? So I just came off my first feature. It's called Through the Eyes of a Father. It's about an hour, 5 minutes. We ran it through the film festival circuit. I won about 3 awards. I'm very proud of it. Thank you. It's a drama about 2 seniors in high school that get pregnant during their last year. The mom, she wants to keep it. The dad is like, there's no way I can like take care of the kid right now. So it's a struggle of like dealing with that in high school, his relationship, his mom. It's just through the father's perspective, what the teen dad has to deal with. His relationship with his mom, his friends taking things not as seriously as things are, and his depression, him going through that whole process, and ultimately coming out of it. So that's dope.
Congratulations. So your question, as I understand it, how do you engage with investors and not compromise the IP? You know, how do you make sure they're not, trying to either change your story or take your story from a financial standpoint? Is that the question? Okay. So it's really simple. It's 3 points. If you remember these points, you won't go wrong. It's paperwork. Paperwork. As long as you get those 3 things, you're good. You can't assume that you know what the person is going to do. Meaning, if I write a check for $100,000 and I don't tell you my expectation for the film, when I start moving around, you're going to be like, well, no, that's not, I thought you were going to be a silent investor. No, I'm not a silent investor. You didn't ask.
Right.
I'm on set, I'm following my money, I want to make sure you're good stewards with my money. If you would have asked me if I was going to be a silent investor, I wouldn't have invested. So identifying those roles at the beginning makes life so much simpler. Hey, I'm going to take $100,000, you get X, you can do this, I'll see you on set here. You create those boundaries. But if you leave it open, you cannot be mad at anyone because they are going to take as much liberty. In fact, they might start calling it their film. It happens all the time. So if you don't really write it down, you're in for a headache. So again,
Paperwork, y'all. Listen, thank you so much, Dalapo. You were absolutely amazing. Guys, make sure to follow Dalapo. He has so many dope projects coming out, including Dating COVID, which I'm just so excited about. But I want to thank you guys again for coming out to the Filmmaker stage. Are you guys excited about Black Writers Weekend 2023? We are having fun at Black Writers Weekend 2023. There's so many different stages going on right now, so make sure that you guys are taking advantage of that. I want to thank Comedy Hype Studios for being such gracious hosts for this amazing, groundbreaking stage. Make sure that you stay if you don't have anywhere else to go, because there's another dope panel with Black filmmakers that is next, all right? And I'll be moderating that as well. But I want to thank our sponsors, Amazon KDP, AJC, BookLogix, Atlanta's Mayor's Office of Film and Media, Partake Foods, and Penguin Random House. Make sure to follow everything regarding the festival on IG at Black Writers Weekend. And if you are taking pictures, you're taking advantage of the photo booth, any of those sorts of things, use the hashtag Black Writers Weekend. Guys, I am your moderator, Official Kiara M. Have an amazing afternoon.
Yeah.